Combining the in chorus always attract attention and stay in the memory. Take for example such contrasting things as children's cartoons and a good old ultraviolence. Merging them together, we get the animated series Happy Tree Friends, behind a nice wrapper which hits the cruel and bloody stuffing. The fresh roguelite Cult of the Lamb also walk in a similar direction. We've got cute little animals with huge eyes and ritual ceremonies in which all these charms can be sacrificed. And why? For the glory of cuteness, of course. So, the protagonist of Cult of the Lamb is a lamb, or to put it more apparently, a lamb, who is sent to the slaughter in the name of the 4 bishops of the ancient faith. Sometimes goes wrong, however, and the 5th date resurrects us on the condition that we create a cult in his honor. It is impossible to refuse this tempting offer, and now we are the chosen prophet, and our destiny is to destroy all heretics. The lamb is given a crown, which with a slight movement of the hoof can turn into a weapon, and is sent out of the house of sorrow into a world of the living. That's where the adventure begins. At first, Crisau, the former holder of the crown, helps us, but soon enough he realizes that the lamb, who has returned from nothingness, is not so innocent and can cope with everything himself, both with his enemies and with his own flock. Cult of the Lamb can be divided into the 2 main components: roguelike races through the lens of heuristic and settlements management, and each of these gameplay segments tends to draw the player's attention to itself. Our main objective is to get rid of the 4 bishops by going into randomly generated dungeons and collecting random dropped weapons and tarot cards that affect speeds, attack power, and our health and replenishment rate. All as bequeathed by the great Isaac, except that the variety and depth of the faithful flower of the binding of Isaac is sorely lacking. Even the monsters get bored here quickly, to say nothing of the methods of represent against them. There aren't many weapons in Cult of the Lamb. There's the quick dagger, the reality quick sword and gloves, and the slow but powerful axe and hammer. They can all have extra effects like poison. As you understand, all this goodness is designed for close combat, while at the distance we have some special spells, curses. There are several kinds of them too: straight shot, arrest strike, homing charges, and so on. They also have effects: freezy poison, but you can't make your run, so as keep only at distance. Alas, because such attacks spend the local equipment of mana, and it's not very readable replacement without a special tarot card. Each sortie consists of several blocks. In the process, we can only fight enemies, but also look for followers, resources, and food supplies. There are also random encounters, which are responsible for the local lore. For example, we can wander into a clearing to a certain Crisau, who has no herd. He is surrounded by other people's herds and unsuccessfully tries to fish his own out of the pool of blood. And there are plenty of colorful little animals like that around here. The runs themselves are short, about 10 minutes 50 tops. At the end of each expect us to fight the boss. First we take turns dealing with the henchmen of the bishops, and then having unlocked the lock on the door with them. Losing the battles is allegedly beaten by the fact that he who wants restores us again as his great prophet. So the death of a hero is a rare thing here. On a normal difficulty level, even the bosses seems to succumb to the player and without problems are passed on the first try, and memorize their attacks do not have to. It doesn't matter if the run is successful or not, we are still returned to the base, and that's where things begins. Doing the settlements in Cult of the Lambs is no less exciting than getting out on sorties outside of it. Here we just pile on a lot of gameplay activities which suddenly tied up with the head. Your subordinate cultists can't work or pray, and control and direct them in all these things, of course, should the prophet. Current devotion of the cultists develops the settlements and opens a new building in it. You can't get away with just a temple and kitchen. Your flock has three basic parameters: faith, hunger and purity, and they all need to be carefully monitored. If you faith weakness, the animals will stop honoring you and leave the camp. From hunger the followers die, from unstable condition too, so it's important to take care of sustenance and cook food, and then clean up with what is processed into. It's ironic, of course, that it should be the prophet who does all this, but what can you do? And so it seems that you all run into the camp for a while to check between the wounds if everything is okay, and the half-hour rushing around like a madman, making sure that none of the cultists are not hungry and sick, blessing them in the process, giving gifts, controlling resources. And then you can confess some personalities to reeducate skeptics and those of another religion. Its such suddenly appeared, and now the time for preaching has come. So it's time to hold a ritual. The life of the Kavali cultist is hard and unpleasant. Sometimes in the second half of the game, thanks to the buildings and the improvements, some process can be automated and shift on the shoulders of their faithful adepts. For example, the animals assigned to take care of the garden will sow and harvest it themselves, and thanks to wooden toilets, you no longer have to run around the settlements with a broom. You only need to clean the toilet once every few days, but the cultists alas will not learn how to cook food. When you please your followers, you unlock tables on which you can write down the commandments that define the cult's basic features. Thus you decide how the camp will treat the elderly, dead and the afterlife, and vegetarians. It's all quite interesting framed, and the settlements can be made into a completely harmless community full of love and mutual respect, or a cannibal camp with regular sacrifice. Initially I had the idea of not killing anyone at all and creating the most peaceful cult possible. Look at this cute weeping's face in the gallery below. How can they sacrifice it all? But the settlers would still die of old age. Again, you can resurrect them with rituals, but having brought a couple back to life, I am still undecided as to whether or not that ethical. As for the sermons, they pump up not the settlements, but the lamp itself, opening up a new effects on weapons and increasing their level. So you can level up in the cult of the lamp even without going too dangerous. You just need to visit the temple once a day. Yes, there is an alteration of day and night. We don't need the sleep, but our flock does. From the sermon I was expecting some kind of rhythm and a minigame like cooking or fishing, which is also present here, but we are always just shown a little cutscene. And so it would seem great that the camp is so much activity, and you can still go beyond it and say place dice with Crusader or perform tasks from other NPC. But in the middle of the game, from the fact that these activities require you to be very active, you begin to get tired. You can't fully devote yourself to slaying monsters, because while you are in danger, the animals are starving, sick and dying at home. Between the two gameplay halves of Cult of the Lamb, it is as the tree is no balance, and each of them pretends to be a full game. This happens sometimes in a video game development. Even the great Sid Meier was guilty of once making a game in which the individual segments, while good on their own, distract from each other. The game was called Covert Action, and then Sid even formulated the Covert Action rule, which can be summed up as: if there are two parts of game, they are fun of their own. Combining them can destroy the gameplay because the player can't pay attention to either of them. So, to sum up, British Australian studio Massive Monster has been in the industry for several years, and Cult of the Lamb is not their first game, and you can feel it, as we all the fact that a lot of effort and love has gone into Cult. There are so many details. Take for example the fact that when you declare a day off in the settlement, the animals change into Hawaiian shirts. Overall, Cult of the Lamb is a time western. But at first, of course, it charms you with amazing appearance. But the more you play and more you realize that the gameplay is unbalanced and you encounter bugs. Replayability is very important in the roguelikes, and Cult of the Lamb cannot boast with it. After 15 hours you don't want to play it again, but you will remember these 15 hours with warmth. Because the bugs are forgotten, but the request to make a salad of experiment is not. So pros is a nice visual style, humor, original setting and addictive gameplay, and cons is lack of replayability, simple combat and not too varied weapons, and at least many bugs.